Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Chess Musings Summer Camp Lecture. I'm going to go ahead and set up right now. Or camp lecture. Okay, so hold on. So please be patient with me. Okay. Okay, maybe it's not that one. It must be this one. Okay. Oh. Okay, so this is it right here. Okay, so I'm just setting up right now. So I'll be waiting for more people to show up. So this is a good position, and then I'm going to go ahead and set up another position. Hi everyone, welcome to my live stream. I am going to get started around 2 p.m. Otherwise, just please be patient. Okay. Yesterday, I taught you more of the knight and bishop checkmate, and today we're just gonna do a review. And then today, as I told you, we are gonna talk about this position over here. And in this position, it is white to move. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lauren Goodkind, and I've been teaching chess for 10 years, and I've been teaching chess to kids and adults, and I'm also a chess book author. So the first book that I've written is 50 Poison Pieces, and I did create all of the puzzles in this book. Readers have to figure out why taking an unprotected piece is a mistake. So this book is perfect for beginners. And then the second book that I've written is called Queen for a Day, The Girl's Guide to Chess Mastery. And I wrote this book to inspire more women and girls to play chess. Since chess is a male-dominated game, I am happy to be a woman chess teacher. So it's just like I'm proud of that. So I'm gonna still wait for maybe a couple more minutes. So I hope that everyone is having a fun time at the camp. And I hope you find my lectures to be beneficial. So okay, it is 2 p.m. Right now. Okay, 3 people. Okay, good. Okay, you guys, welcome everyone. I hope that everyone is having a fun time at summer camp. It is officially 2 p.m. and I am gonna go ahead and get started. Yesterday, we did I did talk about how to do a checkmate with a knight and a bishop, and we're just gonna go ahead and do a review. So just remember, we want to force the king over to a8 since we have a white square bishop. So the first move was we're going to go here. And then the only move is to go king to e8. And then just remember, if the king and knight, if they're one square diagonal, we're going to simply just move the knight back. Now, 2 days ago, I taught you what to do if the king goes to f8. So if you remember, if the king goes to f8, we simply just move the knight over to d7, right? So you have to remember the knight, it goes in a W shape. That's very, very important. So so then I go here, and then yesterday I taught you what to do if the king goes to D8 instead of F8. So if the king goes to D8, I hope that you remember what to do. So remember in this position, we're gonna simply just move the king over to E6, and this king is controlling these squares, so that's important. And then let's say that the king goes to C7. I hope that you remember what to do in this position. So remember we're gonna simply just move the knight, and we're gonna go ahead and move the knight over to D7, because remember we still want to just maintain this shape movement. That's very, very important. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just type something in the YouTube chat box so I can see it. Okay, so knight goes to D7. The king can go to C6, and then if we think about it, the king can escape to B5. And if you guys remember, the move that we want to do is bishop to D3. And the reason why we want to do this is because now the bishop is controlling the B5 square. So that means that the king cannot escape. Notice that we're controlling all of these squares, and so let's say that the king goes back to C7. And then, if you remember from yesterday, the king wants to go to C6. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and move the bishop to E4. So the bishop is controlling the C6 square. So that's good. And then let's say that the king goes to C8. And then if that's the case, we're going to simply just move the king over to D8, to D6. And the reason why we're going to go king to D6 is because we don't want the king to go back to C7. So we move king to D6, and that is great. And then let's say that the king, okay, so the king has to go to D8. And notice, again, the king can go to E8, but we don't want the king to go to E8. So we have to simply, again, move the bishop to G6, and it controls the E8 square. So that means that the king has to go here. And then again, notice that the king and knight, they're one square diagonal. So now you know, now it's time to move the knight again. Remember it's a W formation, so we move the knight back to C5. And then let's say that the king goes here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just move the king over to C6. And let's say that the king tries to run away with A7. So right now, we're not. You shouldn't be too worried again, because again the king cannot go to the sixth rank because of this knight and this king. Um, so we're gonna again, this king can't go anywhere right now. We don't want this king to try to escape by moving to C8. So we're gonna simply just again move the bishop to F5, because now the bishop is controlling the C8 square, and then it is back to move. So let's say that the king goes to B8. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna simply just move the king to B6. And if you notice right now, we are setting up this wall. This king cannot escape. So Zach's only move is to go king to A8. And then this is when you have to be very careful right now, because we don't want to do stalemate. We want to checkmate flag. So it's always like important to ask, if I move here, where is my opponent going to do? If the knight goes to A6, then this is going to be stalemate, because the king is not in check, and flag has no legal moves. So remember, if you have, so we have to do a raiding move. And when you do a waiting move, you want to simply move the bishop. And remember, when you move the bishop, you want to move the bishop so it can still control the c8 square. So because of that, we can move the bishop here, 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 or here. That's very, very important. But if you move the bishop like to these squares, this is not going to be good because the bishop is not controlling the c8 square. So I'm going to go ahead and just simply just move the bishop to h3. And then black's only move is to go king to b8. And then now we can simply just move the knight over to a6. Notice that we're still controlling these squares. Black's only move is to go king to a8. And then we simply just do a checkmate by moving the bishop to g2. So this is how you checkmate with a knight and the bishop. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to this position because I told you guys we are going to go ahead and talk about this position. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to just write something in the chat box on YouTube so I can read it. So the question is, it is white to move. So my question is, what should white do for the very first move? So feel free to um write it in the chat. So what should white's first move be? Okay, so Madavi says king to d2, and that is correct. We're going to simply just move the king over to d2. And just so that you know, moving the pawn to e5, this would be a big mistake. And some people might be tempted to do that, but we actually want to get our king in front of the pawn. So we're going to go ahead and go king to d2. And I'm going to just give you guys, this is a key concept, is in order to successfully promote this pawn to a queen, this king needs to eventually go to d7 or f7. That's where the king wants to go to. And the reason why we want the king to go to d7 or f7 is because the king would be controlling the queening square and then these two squares. So king goes to d8, and then let's say that the king goes to e7, and then what should white do now? So feel free to write something in the chat box. Okay, so what Madavi says they king to d3, and that's correct. We're gonna go ahead and move the king to d3. Again, we want to get this king um to like e4 or e5. The king needs to be in front of this pawn. So king to d3 is good. Let's say that the king goes to e6, and then what should we do? So we have to be very careful right now. What should we do? Okay. Okay. So pawn goes to e4. Okay. So the problem with so pawn to e4. So this is very, very interesting because right now the computer says that we're winning. We're up about 60 points. The problem with pawn to e4 is now the king can go to e5, and then if you notice right now, this king cannot go to d4. And then we want to move the king in front of the pawn. Okay, so JJ says king goes to e4, and That's correct. Okay. So if we go king to e4, then we get the opposition. If you really think about it right now, again, our goal is we want the king to go to d7 or f7. And right now is okay. So if it was white to move again, notice that white's king cannot go to the fifth rank right now because this king is controlling these squares. But it is black's move. So if you notice right now, is if the king goes to f6, now we can advance our king to d5, and that's good. We're getting closer to d7 and f7, right? Um, and if the king goes to d6, then guess what? Um, the king is not controlling the f5 square, and and because of that, we can simply just move the king over to f5 right now. So that's great. And let's say that black's king goes to e7. What do you think we should do now? So what should we do as white? So again, our objective is to get to d7 or f7 eventually. Um, okay, so we can go to pawn to e4. Okay, right. Um, right, okay. So I got two answers. It says e4 and then e5. Okay, so I'll talk about pawn to e4. Okay, so here's what the problem is with pawn to e4. Um, if the pawn goes to e4, then the king can go to f7, and then it is white's move. But if you notice, white's king cannot advance right now, right? Because black has opposition. So we need to go back, because we want again, our objective is for this king to go to d7 or f7. So we don't want to move pawn to e4. It's a little bit too soon. JJ says king to e5, and this is the correct move. And the reason why is because again, we want we want our king to advance to the sixth rank. And right now we can't do it because it's black's move. But notice that if the king goes to f7, notice that black gave up the d6 square, right? So if the king goes there, then we can simply just go king to d6. And again, if the king goes if the king goes to d7, notice that the king gave up the f6 square. If that's the case, we simply just move the king over to f6, and then this white is making very good progress right now. Um, so if the king goes here, then let's say that the king goes to e8. And then, what do you think we should do now? So it's white to move. So what should white do? So yeah, feel free to just write something in the chat box on YouTube. So Madavi says king to e6, and this is a great move. The reason why this is a great move is because now the king, it is controlling the g7 and then the f7 square. So this is a very, very good move. So let's say that the black king goes to f8, and then what do you think we should do now? So what should white do? Okay, Madavi says king to d7. We could do that. I think it's a yeah, I mean, yeah. The king can go to d7. But it's a little bit too early right now. Because if the king goes to d7, then the pawn can go, oh sorry. Let's say okay, so king d7, king goes here, and then if we go pawn to e4, king goes to f7, and then if you notice right now, if we move the pawn up to e5, then that would be bad for white because then the king could just take the pawn. So it's a little bit too early to move king to d7. The king does want to go to d7, but it's a little bit too soon to do that. So JJ says pawn to e4, and that's correct. Go ahead and just move the pawn to e4, and then let's say that black's king goes to e8, and then what should white do? What should white's next move be? Any idea? So what should white do? So feel free to just type something. JJ says e5. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and go pawn to e5. And we have the opposition. It's black to move, and if you notice right now, black has to give up the d7 or um or f7. Um so if the king goes to d8, then what should white do? So if you remember correctly, the king wants to go to f7 or a d7. So because of that, we simply just move the king over to f7. Yep, yep. King to f7, and this is fantastic because now um, since this king is on a7, it's controlling the square in front of the pawn. It's also controlling e7. It's still in front of the pawn too, and it's also controlling the queening square. So the pawn becomes a queen on e8. And if you can get the king to control all of these squares, it is impossible for black's king to stop this pawn from promoting. So let's say that the king goes here, pawn goes to e6. Let's say that the king goes to d8, pawn to e7, king goes to d7, and then now we can finally get a queen. So that's fantastic. So that was good. So if we go back a couple of moves, if the king goes to f8, then we simply just move the king over to d7, and then it's just the same concept, but the king is on the other side of the pawn right now. The king is controlling these three squares, and then it's impossible for black's king to stop the pawn from promoting. So that's yes, it's fantastic. So we're gonna go ahead. Let's just do a recap. I can explain why so you might be asking, why is pawn to e4? Why is this a mistake? I would tell you why. Because if pawn goes to e4, then the king can go here. Then king goes to e2. King goes to e6. King goes to e3. King goes here, and then if you notice right now, the king cannot advance to the fourth rank. Let's say that the king goes to sorry, it's white's turn. So let's say that the king goes to d3. Then the king needs to go to e6, and then we can try to win by moving king to d4. Then, of course, if you're black, you don't want white's king to advance to the fifth rank. And because of that, you're going to simply just move the king over to d6, right? Because if we move the king back, maybe to e7, this is going to be a mistake because then white's king can advance to the fifth rank, right? Um, so we go forward. So black king wants to go d6. Pawn goes to e5, and then again, let's say that the king goes to e5. King goes to e4, and then black. Let's say the So again, if you're black, you want to stay on the same line as the pawn. So king to d7. King goes to f7, and then remember, if you're black, you don't want the king to advance to the sixth rank. So we're gonna simply just move king to f7. Right, that's very, very important. If you move the king over to d7, then that's going to be a mistake because you're going to let white advance to the 6th rank. So king goes here, pawn goes to e6. Again, we want to move the king in front of the pawn. So king goes to e7. White's king goes to e6. It is black to move. So let's say that the king goes here, and then king can go to d6. But if you notice again, this king can't just go to d7 or f7, right? So let's say that the king goes here, pawn goes here and checks, and then again, black's king should go to e8. And then since the king is not on d7 or f7, it's going to be a draw. Because again, if the king goes to e6, then this is going to be stalemate. And if the king just goes somewhere else, then the black king can just go ahead and just take the pawn. So that's what happens if you move the pawn up to e4, but black still needs to know how to draw. So I guess the key takeaway is you want to just lead with the king. The king should be like in front of the pawn, and then your objective is for the king to go to f7 or a d7 if the pawn is on the e file, right? So that's very, very important. So again, the position is like, okay. And then you simply just move the pawn up. If king goes to d8, then you just move the king over to f7, and then you can't that can't stop this pawn from promoting. So let me go ahead and oh wait, hold on for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and set up another position. So the key takeaway is let's say that if you have a c pawn, then that means that you want the king to eventually go to b7 or a d7. If you have a d pawn, then the king wants to go to e7 or c7, right? Because then it's controlling these squares. So that's very, very important. I can talk more about other other the other pawns. So if you have a h pawn, then this is actually going to be a draw. So that's just good to know information. There's no way for white to force this pawn to promote right now. And it's the same concept. If this pawn is on the A file, and if you have a position like this, then this should be a draw, assuming the king just goes back and forth. There's no way for white to promote this pawn to a queen. I hope that this is making sense. If you have any questions, just feel free to just type something in the chat box. So I hope that you found this to be beneficial. Do you guys want me to show you guys another in-game position? I think that would be great. So if you guys don't have any questions, I am gonna go ahead and give you guys another in-game. Okay, good. Very, very good. Okay, and you're gonna find this puzzle to be very beneficial. So let me go ahead and set this up. And sometimes when you play chess, sometimes you're gonna end up having a queen endgame, and you're gonna like this right now. Hmm. So this is let me set this up. Okay. Okay. This is the position, everyone. Okay, here's the position, and I am gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and know the position, and it is white to move everyone. So let me just talk more about this. White has a pawn on the seventh rank, and if you notice right now, the pawn wants to promote on b8, but you need to notice that this queen on g2, it is pinning the pawn to the king. So therefore, um, White can't just promote the pawn to a queen. So the question right now is, what should White do in this position? So this can get kind of crazy, but I'll give you guys time to think about it. What should White do? So we gotta have to think out of the box a little bit. So yeah, I'll give you guys some time to think about it. And it is white to move. We want to find a way to promote this pawn to a queen. Okay, so Madavi says king to a7, and this move it makes sense because if you go here, you are unpinning the pawn. Um, so that's good, and then now you're threatening to go queen, I'd say pawn to b8, so you're threatening to get a queen. So the thing is that if you go there, then I am gonna go ahead and check you, queen to a2, and then you know if the king goes here, you know, black is gonna still check the king right now. So it's gonna get kind of crazy right now. So we want to think about something else. Um Okay, so 1% said queen to b4 and check. Okay. Yeah, I mean you are checking the king. I mean I think it could this could work out and win, but it's gonna take a lot of moves to do that. But the problem right now is this queen, it is pinning the pawn to the king. So um let's go back for a second. We want to do something else. Um, so I'll give you guys some more time to think about it. Otherwise, I'll give you guys a hint. Um, but I'll give you guys more time to think about it. So if you guys are stumped, I will give you I'll give you guys a hint. So do you guys have any other ideas what to do? Okay, so Madavi says queen to h2. Okay. So good. You're actually thinking right now. Queen to h2. Yep, and then this is the correct move. You might be saying like, yeah, but this is the craziest looking move ever. And it is, but this is actually the move. So what's going on right now? The queen is checking the king, and it's also attacking the queen at the same time. But then you might say, yeah, but then black's queen can just go ahead and just take the queen. But that's exactly the point. Because once black's queen takes the queen, then notice this queen, this king, they're all on the same diagonal. And guess what? This pawn is not pinned, so therefore we can just simply just move the pawn to b8, and then this is a skewer. So this is great. Once the king gets out of the check, then white's queen can simply just capture black's queen. Um, so this was a good good end game. Also notice that queen to g3 also works too. So it doesn't matter. Queen to g3, h2. Yeah, it's a very beautiful move. So the queen goes here, queen takes, and then you just simply just move the pawn to the queen. So this is a very beautiful end game position. And sometimes like when you're playing chess, sometimes you want to set up. like a trap or set like in this position, like you set up a skewer, but that's why it's important to try to calculate a couple of moves ahead. I can show you guys another example of setting up a skewer because let me set this up. Let me so I'm gonna give you guys another position, and you want to set up a skewer in this position. It seems kind of awkward, but this is it right now. So in this position is very similar to the last position. You want to set up a skewer in this position. So if you notice right now, the king and queen, they're on the same diagonal. So what should white's first move be? Any ideas right now? Any ideas? So we want to set up a skewer. Madawi says bishop to d6. Okay, you guys are catching on. Yep, bishop to d6. It looks like a silly move because it's like, oh yeah, but the king can just simply just take it. But again, if the king takes the bishop, then the queen can go here, and then it's a skewer again. The king cannot go to e5. The king has to go to d5, and then the queen can just take the queen right now. So um yeah, so this is another example of setting up a skewer. So that makes sense. Okay, you guys, I am gonna go ahead and move on. Do you guys want another end game? I can teach you guys another end game position. Another end game position. Yep. Okay. Great. Thank you. I appreciate your answers. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up a position. And let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and go king. And then we've got a actually, yeah. Okay. Wait, hold on. Oh wait, come on. Okay, here's another in-game position for you guys. And we wait, no, that's not good. Okay, here we go. Okay, and in this position, it is white to move. And if you think about it, white has just a bishop and a king, and black is up the exchange and is and has a rook and a king. So the question is, if you are white, um, so we can't win, but what do you think the outcome should be? Assuming that both players play very, very well, what do you think the outcome should be? So do you think that if you're a black, do you think you can win in this position, or do you think this is going to be a draw? Any ideas right now? Any ideas? Um Okay, so Madavi says it should be a draw, and that's correct. So yeah, if white plays correctly, then it should be a draw. But the question is, how do we how do we get a draw in this position right now? So what should white's what's the drawing idea right now? Um, so I'm gonna say, hi back. What should white do right now? What should the first move be? So it's definitely a draw, but we still need to execute that. So what should white do? No, it's actually in the 50 move. So so Andrea says keep the bishop next to the king. Um, that's I mean, I think, like, maybe to a certain extent, that's correct. So, I mean, if we go bishop to d5, then I'm gonna go ahead and go king to, d6, so I am gonna get aggressive. Um, so what should I do now? What should I do now? Madawi's well, actually, no. Bishop goes to d5, what should I do? We're still we're fighting for a draw right now. So, one person said, like, keep the bishop next to the king, so bishop to, um bishop to, um bishop to b3. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so if you go, bishop to b3, okay, so when this is, I'm getting answers right now, or bishop to c4. Um, okay, let's say that we go, bishop to, c4. I'm gonna go ahead and move the bishop. I'm gonna go ahead and move the rook over to a8, so a4, and now my rook is pinning the bishop to the king. And then what should white do? So what should white do right now? Any ideas right now? So king to well, the king can't go to d4. Um the king is already on d4 right now. Um so we could go king to d3. Okay, king to d3 or c3. King to c3. Okay. King goes to c3. Okay, that makes sense. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and move the king over to c5. Okay, and it is white to move now. So just so that you guys know, you guys are doing a good job right now. So what should white do right now? So JJ Liu says bishop to b3. Um Okay. You go here, it's attacking the rook. Okay, so I gotta do something about that. So I am going to go ahead and um yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move the rook over to a3. So what should white do now? So what should white do right now? So Madavi says king to b2. Yep, king goes to b2. It makes sense. Um. Okay. Yeah. I like your I like what you're saying. Okay. King goes to b2. It's attacking this rook right now. Um. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go king to b4, and then I'm protecting the rook, and I'm also attacking the bishop too. What should I do now? Yeah. So what should I do? Okay, so we have like bishop goes to g8. We also have like bishop to d1. We also have bishop to a2. Um, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply I like the move bishop. I think d1. I think bishop to g8. I think this is fine for right now. Um Okay, so it's my move, and again, I can't just move my rook over to a2 or rook to b3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply just move the rook over to g3, and it's white's move. What should white do? So now you gotta be careful because I am attacking your bishop right now. So what should white do? So bishop to Bishop to f7. Okay, so bishop goes to f7. I do like bishop to f7. That's great. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I am gonna go ahead and check right now. And then you guys have to figure out where to move the king right now. Because I am checking the king. We gotta do something about it. What should we do with the king right now? King goes to b1. Okay, king goes to b1. If you do that, what I will do is I am gonna go ahead and go king to c3. And then what should you guys do for white? What should white do? Any idea right now? I like your answers. This is very helpful. So what should white do? So I just moved the king to c3. Okay, so Andrea says waiting move. We can go bishop to d5. Um, okay. Yeah, we can just do a waiting move. Like maybe bishop to d5. And yep, I think that makes sense. Um, so what I'm gonna do is um I'm gonna go ahead and check. And then white's only move is to go king to um a2. And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and go rook to e1. Okay, so you guys, what do you think what do you think white should do right now? What should white do? So what should white do right now? So Davi says bishop to g8 again. Um, we'll have to be careful. Okay, so if bishop goes to g8, um, it's interesting. Okay, so there's a couple of answers. One person said king to a3. If the king goes to a3, then this is going to be a mistake because I'm going to go ahead and go rook to a1. And then this is almost checkmate, but the bishop can go here. And then that king can go here. And then if you notice right now, the rook, it's pinning the bishop to the king. So therefore, white has to move the king, but white has no good move. So if the king ever goes to a4 or b4, then that can simply just take the bishop. So that's what happens if we go king to a3. One other person said, wait, so JJ says bishop to f7. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And um um I'm gonna go ahead and go rook to um g1. And then what should white do? So what should white do right now? JJ says bishop to d5. That makes sense. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and go. Yeah, this is fine. This is interesting because it stops the rook from checking on g2. I'm gonna go ahead and move the rook over here right now. Okay, so what should you guys do? So it's bishop to e6. And that makes sense. The bishop can go to e6. Whoa. Yeah, okay. Bishop to e6, that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and check. And then just so that you guys know, the only move is to go king to b1. And what would you do if I go rook to b1 right now? What would you do now? So I'm checking the king. Gonna do something. What should I do? King to a2. Okay, yeah, and you can go king to a2. And just to let you guys know, you can actually go king to a1 too. Okay, so I know that you guys have been saying like king to a2, that's fine, but surprisingly, the king can also go to a1. This is so you guys said king to a2 is perfectly fine, but I also want to just tell you that king to a1 also um um is a good move too, because um it seems like a kind of like a um it seems like a scary move right now if you go king to a1, but this works because if the rook checks, then white's only move is bishop to a2. And right now, um it is black to move. But if you notice right now, if the king goes to c2, then this is stalemate. Right? So this is very, very important. If I move the rook over here, then we simply just move the king over to b1. And then let's say that the rook goes like over here. And then notice that I'm threatening checkmate. But remember, all we have to do is we simply just move the bishop. And then if I do move the rook over to e1, then the king can simply just go here. And then this is a draw. So let me just tell you guys the drawing concept, but I think you guys got it, which is really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the position right now. So the concept is if you just have a king and a bishop, and if your opponent has a king and a rook, what you want to do is you want to force you want to move the king over to h1 or a8. It's the white corner squares if you have a dark square bishop. That's very, very important. And if you have a white square bishop, then you want to force or you want to like get your king over to h8 or move the king or get the king over to a1. And the reason why we want to do this is because if you get the king over here, notice that um when when the rook checks, then the bishop can block the check. So this is why the draw works. Um, but again, if let's say that if you have a white square bishop, and if you move the king like to a white square if you move the king to a white square corner, this is not going to be good because this bishop cannot effectively block the rook's check. So like for example, if you have a position like um this rook can go here, and then black is going to go ahead and win in this position because again this bishop it's not next to this king. So that's something you guys have to just remember. So the key takeaway for this is if you have a dark square bishop, then you want to move the king to a white corner so the bishop can block the check. That's very, very important. And then if you have a white square bishop, then you want to move the king in a dark square corner, so the bishop can um the bishop can effectively stop the check. So, do you guys have any questions about that, or should we move on? Should we move on? So I like your answers. Should we move on right now? Move on. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Um, what I can do is I can show you guys a trap. So let me go ahead and do that. Um, Valentine says, I understood the concept. Good. I'm so happy. I want you guys to understand the concept. I'm here to help you guys out. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a trap, an opening trap, and I think you guys are gonna like this. Um, so I know that a lot of people play e4, and I'm going to show you guys a trap. So the trap goes like this: pawn goes to e4, and then black is going to go ahead and then go to e5. And then the knight is going to go to f3, and then this is a good move because it's attacking the pawn, and that's what you want to do in the opening. So you want to get all the knights and the bishops out, right? So knight to f3, and then black is going to go ahead and move the knight to c6. So the knight is protecting the pawn, and that's fantastic. And then there's many ways that white can continue, but of course we're gonna go for a trap right now. And we're gonna go ahead and move the bishop to c4. Okay, this is also called the Italian game, but there's many ways white can continue. Like for example, if the bishop goes to b5, then this is called the Ruy Lopez. It's also known as the Spanish game. So bishop to b5 is good, but we're gonna go ahead and go bishop to c4. Black is going to go ahead and move the pawn to d6, and this is not the best move because first of all, you need to get all the knights and the bishops out. This bishop should just move right now, but in this position black decides to go pawn to d6, and then what white is going to do is white is going to go ahead and move the knight over to c3. So that is great. And then what's going to happen now is we're going to black is simply going to go ahead and move the bishop to g4, and then right now it is pinning the knight to the queen. So this is interesting, and white decides to castle, but also notice that white can also do something else. White can also like maybe move the pawn to d3, but in this position, white is going to go ahead and just castle, and then now this is when things get very interesting. The bishop right now, it is pinning the knight to the queen, and black decides to get very, very aggressive and decides to go knight to d4. And this seems like a good move because now the knight and the bishop are attacking the knight. But my question right now is, what should white do in this position? So it just turns out that moving the knight to d4 is a big, big mistake. So what should white do in this position? So Andreas says knight takes e5, and that's the correct answer. Knight takes pawn, and this is the correct answer. It seems like a crazy move. I mean, because first of all, the bishop can take the queen, right? But the beautiful thing about this move is the knight and bishop are attacking the f7 pawn. So most people are gonna say like, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and just capture the queen, and I'm gonna go ahead and win. But if the bishop takes the queen, that's a big mistake because what is white going to do in this position? So what should white do? What should white do? Madavi says bishop takes f7. The bishop is going to go ahead and take the pawn. And this is a beautiful move. Yeah, we don't want to capture the bishop. We gotta just go after this king. So king goes to e7, and then after that, what should white do now? What should white do right now? So black is not in a good position. Because what should white do right now? Yep, okay. So you guys are right. It is knight to d5, and this is a beautiful checkmate. And so let's just talk about this checkmate. The knight is checking the king. The king cannot go to e8 or a6 because of this bishop. Notice this king cannot go to d7 because of the knight, and then this king cannot go to f6 because of this knight. So this is a very beautiful checkmate. So I'm gonna go ahead and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and show this trap again. And so you guys just remember this trap. So remember, it goes e4 and then e5, knight to f3. Also notice you can also go knight to c3 too. The move order it's not that important, so you can go knight to c3. Knight goes to c6, and then I can go bishop to c4. Pawn goes up, knight to f3, and then bishop goes to g4, and then again white can castle in this position. White can also move the pawn up to d3. Again, the move isn't, I mean, it's not very important, but let's say that the pawn goes to d3, and then black decides to go here, um and then it's attacking the knight. And then again, if the knight takes this pawn, oh wait, you know what? Uh, um if bishop takes queen, then we've got the checkmate. Bishop takes pawn, king goes here, and then we've got knight to d5, and that's a checkmate. I hope that you guys found um today's lecture to be very helpful. And tomorrow I will teach you guys some more in-game games, and I'll show you guys some more puzzles. So you guys, thank you so much for listening to me. And I like when you guys type something in the chat box. I really appreciate that. So again, I will be here tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you guys, thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. And I will see you guys tomorrow.